Hi guys, Asim here. I was literally about to post this episode, and then this giveaway came on our timeline in our inbox. So I thought I'd let you guys know we're giving away a really cool, good like movie merchandise from the forthcoming movie Notebook, starring Bale and Zahir Iqbal. Sorry about those messing up those names. It's produced by Salman Khan. It's releasing on 29th of March. So you have 1 week. It's really cool notebooks with some designs and stuff like that. We'll be posting more details on our Twitter feed. But if you want to win it, leave us a review on our iTunes feed. Take a screenshot, send it to youpodcasting@gmail.com, and we'll pick a lucky winner. Or you can go to our giveaway website, which is kensnow.com, and sign up there, and then you can sign up for all the giveaways that we do. And also check out our interview with Pariniti Chopra, which is posted on the You Podcast Bollywood edition feed. I'll add it to the show notes. It's a really cool chat. It's 10 minutes, 15 minutes or something like that. But yeah, do check it out. It's a separate feed. So I thought I'd let you know if you're only subscribed to the Khandaan feed. We do many, many other podcasts, and there's a lot of good content there too. So do subscribe. You're listening to the Khandaan podcast by the You Podcast team, a bi-weekly podcast revisiting the movies of Aamir Khan, Salman Khan and Shah Rukh Khan.
Every show, we pick a random year from 3 decades of collectively 300 films the Khans have done and let our listeners vote which movie we should talk about. So it's entirely up to you.
Pick a team, make a vote, take us down nostalgia lane, punish us, or make us reassess a movie we dismissed.
We love the Khans, most of us, sometimes. And we would love for you all to be part of our Khandaan, because when it comes to the Khans in Bollywood, nothing else really matters.
Namaskar!
So we're back, guys. Khandaan team is all together. We're talking about Ishq this week because it won the poll. And we also have Haroon Rashid back because we cannot talk about Ishq without Haroon. Hi, Haroon.
Hi. I'm so
Welcome back
to be here for this really, really special occasion. लगता है कि ईद जल्दी आ
गया. There was a public outcry on Twitter that Haroon has to be part of this, right?
And I cleared my whole Sunday to be here for Ishq.
Oh.
So this
anything for the love of this film.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking. This is going to be a 7-hour podcast, by the way. Amrita, you did come. I mean, I was worried until the last minute. I'll be honest.
It was touch and go there for a quick minute, but yes, I have arrived.
Did you watch the movie? Really? Did you? I really want to know. I wouldn't put you on the spot like this, but I really want to know.
I considered faking my way through it, especially since Sujoy was like super nice enough to like just recap it on Twitter. So I was like, yeah, like Crib Notes version padhiya. Like, why should I watch it now? And then I was like, nay, like, like I should watch it because I only remember this one scene from it. The bank scene where like Aamir dresses up as Sadashiv Amrapurkar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I don't remember a single other thing about that film. So I was like, I should watch it. And then I was like, oh, this is why I only remember that one scene.
Yeah. So when we had Haroon on for the Bajrangi Bhaijan podcast, we talked about his favorite movie, which is Ishq. And we also had some random scenes in our head. I think we were talking about the toothpaste scene and this bank scene. And then a few, like I also remember the rape scene when it started happening. So I was like, okay, there's certain things, but yeah, I didn't remember the movie, so I did rewatch it. So, yeah, this is going to be an informed podcast. We're not like, hawa mein tir nahi maar rahe. We've done our work. And we're also going to be talking about, as usual, news, gossip, trailers, blah, 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 blah. Let's start with the Kalank trailer, because I guess that's the big thing, right? It's coming out very soon, on my birthday, actually. So, thank you, Kejo, for this gift that you're giving me.
कुछ रिश्ते कर्जों की तरह होते हैं, उन्हें निभाना नहीं, चुकाना पड़ता है।
Haroon, man, what did you think of the Kalank trailer?
So I really, really liked it. But with everything that I really like, I'm always a little bit skeptical about whether the film will be as good as the teaser has been. I guess like expectations are high for Kalank anyway. We've been hearing about it for years. It's been talked about in Karan Johar's autobiography that this was a film that his father wanted to make. It was originally supposed to star Shah Rukh Khan, Kajol, Ajay Devgan and Rani Mukherjee, and then was recast several times. Until, and it was also called, was it called Shiddat before, I think?
Shuddhi. Is that Shuddhi?
Shuddhi? There was a Shiddat and a Shuddhi. This was one of them. And,
no. Shuddhi is the one with Hrithik, I think.
So this one was then... Different. This one was then Shiddat.
Might be.
And also, Sridevi was cast in it before she passed away. So for several reasons, there's a lot of excitement around it. I am impressed with the first teaser of the film. It looks rich. It looks grand. It looks like a good cinematic experience. There's lots of song and colour and dance and everything we all love Bollywood for. But is it Karan Johar trying to do Sanjay Leela Bhansali? That's what I've seen a lot of people saying. I don't think it is. I'm hoping that it will be still unique enough to enjoy properly. What do you guys think?
Amrita, I think you also brought up the Sanjay Leela Bhansali comparison, right? We were talking about it initially.
There's definite like set design influences from Sanjay Leela Bhansali, like the whole there's a certain aesthetic to Bhansali films that is very, I guess the word is hermetic, where everything seems to be sort of contained, where you see it in the later films of Bhansali as he's like sort of going further and further away from like outdoor shoots to just like indoor shoots. So even if he has like things that are staged outside, he'll somehow manage to shoot it inside so that he can control everything, like every part of the aesthetic. And I think that's a control issue for Bhansali. But what it translates to on screen is this very, it's sort of like a painting more than like a set. And then people just sort of move within this painting. And that's kind of the feeling that I get from like watching the frames of this film, which are beautiful. And I can just imagine the heightened emotions that are like, you know, seeping out of every frame of this film. And I can't wait, honestly speaking. Like, it's going to be amazing. It's either going to be good or it's going to be a disaster, but either one of those things is going to be like epic proportions. So I'm totally on board for it. But also there's, as Haroon was saying, like Sridevi was supposed to be a part of this. And there's this one particular scene. And I love Madhuri, but there's this one particular scene where she's standing next to Sanjay Dutt and she's looking sort of like sad, but sort of like, you know, defiant a little bit. And that is like an expression that Sridevi could just like nail. There are like so many movies that I remember that expression from when Sridevi did it. And I just saw her in that and I just felt sad all over again that she's gone. It's just such an untimely death, and she would have been amazing in this film.
I think what we are comparing aesthetically, how it looks similar to Sanjay Leela Bhansali's, visuals, is primarily because the cinematographer here is Binod Pradhan, who's worked on Devdas, right? And he kind of emulates that in this. So Binod Pradhan is also the cinematographer of Kalank, and I think that's got more to do with how it looks so grand and all that. But I think emotionally and how the tone and of the dramatics work, I think Kejo is going to be totally different with how a Sanjay Leela Bhansali movie does. And I'm very, very interested to see how Sanjay and Madhuri act and, against all these new younger actors. That would be great, especially Sonakshi. I want to see how she does in a grand movie like this.
No, everybody seems to have forgotten that the director of this film is actually Abhishek Varman.
Yeah.
Just for the stupid, I just want to point out
He made 2 states, right? That's his claim to fame, 2 states?
Yeah. I'm not I'm not a great fan of it.
Yeah, I hate the 2 state.
I think Karan Johar is anyway going to ghost direct this movie. There are no 2 doubts about that.
This is going to be a Nikhil Advani kind of situation.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So I don't actually agree. I kind of think that, I know that people are making the Sanjay Leela Bhansali comparison, but if anything, I think Karan Johar's next film, Takht, will be comparable to a Sanjay Leela Bhansali film, because that is set in the Mughal Empire. There's actually a much richer level of opulence in Takht than what we're seeing in Kalank. So as much as I know people think that he's ghost directed this film, I think he's probably working far more closely on Takht than this one.
I was just surprised how much like top billing Abhishek Varman got in the trailer, because like I was like initially like, who is Abhishek Varman even, like, you know, like I had to Google and like see, oh, he did make Two States and I didn't like that movie. But coming back to Sanjay Leela Bhansali, because Amrita was annoyed that I was being contrarian again, but I don't see the comparison necessarily. And I think what we've almost lost in Hindi cinema is the language of making a historical. And Sanjay Leela Bhansali is the only reference we have now. So I do think the framing, especially that, I think it's Alia running away with the kite, you know, that shot is very reminiscent of Sanjay Leela Bhansali, but I think it is because of the cinematography and the way the teaser, it's not even a trailer, it's a teaser, has been cut. And I do think they cut it in a way to, you know, just evoke that language that SLB has now set in stone, because there's nobody else that's really doing these kind of like period dramas. So I think that's where it is. I love the word hermetic, Amrita, you use, because to me it's even further. I think Sanjay Leela Bhansali's movies are claustrophobic, and sometimes they smell of like old stuffy carpets. You know, like these Persian rugs in these old rooms, and it's like I can smell the movie. Like somebody needs to put some Febreze on them or something like that.
That's Samaria.
yeah. It's you feel like you can't breathe in them because they're all set in in the Two States. I was gonna say in the Kalank trailer, you do have that amazing drone shot. You know. And it's like a city in the mountains or something like that, and it almost feels like Kabir Khan level drone usage. And that's something that, you know, Sanjay Leela would never ever do. You know, he would never use a drone shot in any of his movies because, you know, the wind can probably move the drone by 3 centimeters and he won't be happy because he's a little Hitler. I am worried about emotions coming out of Aditya Roy Kapoor, because I don't know how that...
You don't think he's a good actor?
No, I think he's an actively terrible actor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Emotions coming out of Aditya Roy Kapoor.
Yeah, I don't know what would that feel like? Like, what color are his emotions? Like, does he feel anything? Like, I don't know. Yeah, he's pretty. He's got eyelashes, apparently. That's what my timeline says. Yeah.
Oh, the shade.
Yeah. I am looking forward to Sonakshi though. I'm really hoping this works for her, poor girl.
I just think it's such a big risk, this film, because, you know, multi-starrers can go so horribly wrong in Bollywood. And I think more often than not, they do go horribly wrong.
Like the main review we're going to be talking about.
Hey, that's a prime example of when it went right, but we'll come on to that in a minute. But I just think like it's such a big risk to take. And I think, you know, I know they were trying to cast Sonakshi's character for ages, and I don't think any other actress was willing to play second fiddle to Alia Bhatt, because, you know, even though they are saying it's an ensemble film and that everybody's got equal parts, you know Alia is the lead actress of this film, and you know Varun is the main male lead, and I feel quite bad for Sonakshi and Aditya because they will be completely overshadowed in this film, I believe, at this point.
But I mean, like, you know, it's like the way these guys' careers are going, Sonakshi and Aditya, you know, it's not even second fiddle. Like, if they play the triangle in the orchestra, it's fine. They'll just have to take what they can take, you know. They don't, I mean, beggars can be choosers, unfortunately. One thing that didn't work for me at all was Varun's voiceover. Dude needs to work on his diction, man. Like especially if he's working kind of like a historical thing. You know, it's just not up to scratch. Like, I think he's too much, you know, still Kuli number one, Judwa. It's that kind of intonation he has. And he's lacking a bit of gravitas, I feel.
I think he's the riskiest casting in this film.
Yeah.
He's playing a bullfighter? Is that what he's doing?
I actually saw the teaser and I just thought about like Mola Jat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to Fawad's opening shot in the trailer
Right?
for The Legend of Mola Jad. It's very similar.
Yeah.
I actually found comparisons with this teaser with a Pakistani TV drama that's on right now called Angan, which is also set in the partition. It's about how women were let down by the men around them during the partition. And this, again, is set around partition, Kalank is. And what the comeback that I got from a lot of people was it looks more similar to The Legend of Mola Jad. I can see that. I'm hoping that the similarities don't go beyond that bullfighting scene.
I saw your tweet and I immediately thought, poor Haroon's timeline.
Yeah.
It went really bad really quickly.
I got trolled for like 3 days after
things
that.
escalated from both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I one also thing I'll probably be doing, I won't be watching the trailer. I think I'm excited for it, for Kalank. It's coming out like in a month and a bit. I think I'm good. I'll probably listen to the songs. I won't watch the trailer because I really feel that teasers are becoming better than trailers. So I think
I have a massive problem with the strategy for all of these kind of big Bollywood films because Hollywood also releases teasers. Hollywood also releases trailers, and I'm the last person to make these kind of Hollywood Bollywood comparisons. But in this case, the strategy that Hollywood appoints is far better. Like, you can't release the teaser of your film 6 weeks before it's supposed to come out in cinemas and then 2 weeks later release a trailer. Your teaser should be out like 6 months before your film releases. I don't quite understand why it's left so last minute. Because now, by the time the film releases, we are going to be so done with Kalank teaser, trailer, songs. There's going to be such an overload in such a short space of time. Whereas I think it's far better to release it. Actually, Sanjay Leela Bhansali does. I remember the Bajirao Mastani that came out a good 3 months before the film released, which I just think is a much better way to go about it.
Yeah. It's like everything is shifted in Bollywood. Like, we'll get the logo reveal 12 months earlier. Like Brahmastra, we have the logo reveal. Sujoy, man, are you actually working on that infographic? Differentiate the 3 movies for us or not?
No, I'm not.
You should, man. You should, because I'm still confused about Brahmastra, Takht and Kalank. Okay, let's move on. Badla, you guys saw it, right? Haroon and Sujoy, you guys saw it?
बदला लेना हर बार सही नहीं होता, लेकिन माफ कर देना भी हर बार सही नहीं होता.
बादल गुप्ता कौन है?
विटनेस तैयार करना उसकी एक्सपर्टीज है. 40 साल में वो एक भी केस नहीं हारा है.
जो भी तुम मुझे बताओगे वही मेरे लिए सच होगा. एक एक डिटेल, छोटी से छोटी, बारीक से बारीक.
So Sujoy did a prediction a couple of weeks ago. How was that prediction? How did it go for you?
It was spot on. Like, it was spot on.
Oh my
What
God,
was your
dude,
prediction?
that is amazing.
So my prediction was, because his name is Badal Gupta and the movie's name is Badla, there is some sort of anagram going on, and it's sort of an indication that Amitabh Bachchan is involved in it. And it turned out to be that. And I knew what was going to happen like halfway through the movie.
We shall call you Nostra Singha from now on.
Did you like it, Sujoy?
It was okay. Because I watch a lot of video essays on editing and how a movie tries to manipulate your vision, I thought the movie was very amateurish in its editing. So there's this video essay that came out a couple of weeks ago about how Bohemian Rhapsody's editing is so bad, and it won the Best Editing Oscar this year, and that's a huge fluke. What happened with Academy, because of that knowledge, I went into this and tried to figure that out. And I also, after watching Badla, I went back and watched the original Spanish movie called The Invisible Guest. It's on Netflix. And that handled it way better than how it does here. And I thought it is almost a frame-by-frame remake of the original. And so it doesn't have anything new to give to that narrative. But I didn't watch the original before going in to watch Badla. And I thought, for its span, for the 2 hours that I spent with this movie, it was an okay entertainer.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I did not have very high expectations from the film because although I like Sujoy Ghosh's Kahani, I didn't really like Kahani too. So I don't think he's consistent with his thrillers. But this is nowhere near as good as Kahani either. But it was a decent kind of watch. I didn't have anything to complain about when I came out, nor was I blown away when I came out. I thought Taapsee Pannu was quite good, but again, she's one of those actors where like she's good. She's not gonna be bad in any film. But it's not among her best performances. I thought it was quite predictable, but again, I didn't mind any of it. It was just like it was a decent film to watch for 2 hours, and it's probably not going to be on my list of the best films of the year, but it's definitely not going to be on my list of the worst either.
Yeah.
It's funny how Sujoy Ghosh has really locked himself into this thriller sphere. Like that's kind of like only thing he's doing lately. Like when he
But
started,
I don't think he's the best at it.
No, I especially like I think he didn't do Teen. I thought he did Teen.
He did do Teen, didn't he?
I thought he did because it's not on his.
He's a producer on Teen.
And that's what it really felt like. That is he's a producer on Teen. I don't know who directed it then, but it felt very much like him. And I don't know if he's trying to recapture the success of Kahani, or is it maybe a budgetary constraint? A thriller can be made like in a smaller budget. But I don't know. It's tough when you have Amitabh. That like it seems like every thriller with Amitabh has done it at the end. Be it Wazir, be it Teen, be it Badla. It's always the end is it's always Amitabh. So it's tough. It doesn't leave much of a surprise, and if you don't have that surprise element, it's tough to make a thriller. But
I also think that like if you are going to become the kind of flag bearer of a certain genre, be it a thriller in this case, then you really need to hone your craft. Like you need to be the best at making thrillers. I think Sriram Raghavan is much better at making thrillers than Sujoy Ghosh is, and he's far more consistent. I don't think you can take Agent Vinod into counting in Sriram Raghavan's filmography because I don't think he really directed that at all. But I think that he's far more consistent in that genre, and this to me is like what Anubhav Sinha was doing. Was it Anubhav Sinha who was making like Das and
that's him.
Yeah, like you're not actually that good at action thrillers. Why are you making so many of them so frequently and trying to be like the kind of the poster boy of that genre? That's kind of how I feel about Sujoy Ghosh.
I have a theory about this, So Anubhav Sinha and Sanjay F. Gupta and all of these directors who tried to copy, Western thrillers into their aesthetic. So they all started as music videos, and I think they're trying to copy the film career of how David Fincher, went ahead with this, because he started as a music video producer and made ads, and then went into that sort of genre area where he's exploring the dark side of human psyche and all these serial killer thrillers and stuff. So I guess that's where they find their fancy as well, but they are not as good.
No. Did you think there were similarities with Ittifaq with Akshay Khanna, Siddharth, and Sonakshi?
How do you mean similarities? As in,
I just found the whole way the kind of narrative unfolded of the. I mean, it's a really formulaic whodunit thriller. But when I was watching it, I just felt like the kind of confession was quite similar to the way the confession happens in Ittifaq.
Both were produced by Red Chillies, weren't they?
Yeah.
Do you guys think it helped? Like, usually Red Chillies has like good budgets and good production values, but I don't know. The trailers felt really cheap to me when I was looking at the Badla ones.
I think like. How do I put it? Like I've tried to compare, because I went and watched Badla first, and then I watched I skimmed through The Invisible Guest, and I think the Invisible Guest does make it look quite grand in comparison to how it is in Badla. Most portions of this movie are set in the confines of a single hotel room. And even then, the Badla setting just looks cheap. Yeah, in comparison.
Maybe that's just Glasgow. I'm not sure.
Amrit, I was just wondering if you have any interest in watching Badla.
Nope. The only thing that I remember about Sujoy Ghosh every time I see his name, I love Kahani, but like Haroon, like I didn't really care for like Kahani 2, which shouldn't have been called Kahani 2 in the first place. But the only thing I remember about Sujoy Ghosh is that I think his first feature film was Aladdin, right?
No, Jhankar Beats.
Okay, so his second movie was Aladdin.
No, it was home delivery.
Home delivery.
It was home delivery.
It just gets worse and worse, guys.
It's like, is this bad? No, it's worse.
I actually love Jhankar Beats. That movie has a following.
So I remember when Aladdin came out, and like there was like a significant portion of the American nerd community that was like sincerely excited about that movie for some reason. Like I remember like it was written up on IO9, like people were like talking about it, like, hey, have you heard of this movie that's coming out of India? It's called Aladdin. And I was just like, I remember being in that like group at that time, and I just remember being like, wait, what movie? And then it was being like directed by Sujoy Ghosh, starring Ritesh Deshmukh, and I was just like, guys, it's not gonna be any good, you know. And
So this is what I mean, like looking at his filmography, right? Like it's more films are rubbish compared to how many are good, and all of a sudden I feel like he's got this completely unearned title of being this really good filmmaker. Like people think he's a really good filmmaker, and I don't understand where it's come from. And Kahani, a one-off film can't give you that kind of credibility.
I think it really does go back to that one film, though. Like it literally changed his career, and then he just sort of like clutched onto it. And I think it has to do with his whoever wrote that film. I can't remember offhand, but I think they have a lot more going for that. Like you said, it's not really him. I think it's really the team that made that film. But he got all of it, and he just wrote it right into the sunset.
Apparently, he also wrote on Bang Bang.
Of course he did.
Like that movie had writing. Yeah.
So I'm checking. Kahani was written by Sujoy Ghosh.
Yeah.
Huh. I have a feeling if he actually did, then it was just like one of those Bollywood things where, like, you know, like a bunch of script doctors come in, but like it's written by Sujoy Ghosh. Because there's just no way. Like I've never seen, like Haroon says, like, you know, the career graph is just insane.
Yeah. I do think also he has a lot of goodwill for Jhankar Beats. That movie is something that people talk about a lot.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
Yeah.
That is
मुझे
true.
उस टकले के साथ सेक्स करना है.
And home delivery, that was so bad.
No.
That movie is so bad. Like it's crazy bad. Like it's insane.
But was it as bad as Vivek Oberoi's haircut?
Yeah, it's all part and parcel, man. This whole movie, every decision in that movie was bad. It's so bad.
You know, the only time I ever hear home delivery spoken about again, obviously I remember like how bad it was when it released, but the only time I ever hear about it is because obviously I work at a radio station and we have to like put tracks in for Diwali. So we're looking for like Bollywood songs that reference Diwali. And Home Delivery is the only film that has a track about Diwali. It's called Happy Diwali. And that's the only reason this film ever gets mentioned in my life is because around Diwali, we need at least one song that says Happy Diwali. So I guess Home Delivery will continue to get royalties for that song.
Somebody please make another Diwali song so we can just put home delivery into oblivion and never
But
talk
honestly,
about
there's so many Holi songs. There's even a couple of Eid songs. But how many Diwali songs can you really name?
There's even a Christmas song in Bollywood. Only one Diwali song? That's weird.
Yeah.
Let's move on. You had some thoughts about Luka Chuppi, right, Haroon?
Oh, okay. So I watched Luka Chuppi and I knew the reviews were average before I went in to watch it. I think average is fair. Yeah, they were all around 2.5, 3 stars reviews. And I was willing to give it a chance because I genuinely really loved Sonu Ki Tuki Sweetie, and you can judge me for that if you like, but I thought it was funny, I thought it was witty, I really enjoyed it, and I thought Kartik Aaryan was brilliant in it. So I think that he will be a superstar in the coming years, and so I went to watch Luka Chuppi, and I don't mind Kriti. I don't think she's the best actress, but I don't mind her. I think she looks beautiful, and I like these kind of small town comedies. Like I loved Hindi Medium, I loved Bareli Ki Barfi, and like I said, I loved Sonu as well. But this was just awful. Like I think when I watched the film, my initial reaction was, "Oh, okay, yeah, it's cool." I laughed in a few places, but it's been a week since I went to watch it, and a week later, I think I'm changing my opinion of it to it was just awful and it was a waste of my 2 hours. And if Bollywood continues to churn out rom-coms like this, then I'm just going to give up hope on this genre, because this genre has got a reputation for having like some really quirky, cool. I would even put like Shubh Mangal Savdhan into the same type of genre. It's not far off aesthetically, but the film just had like just no logic to it. It's about a couple who the guy wants to get married, but the girl wants to live in a live-in relationship first. And when they're in a live-in relationship, they get called out by their parents, so they have to pretend being married. And it really reminded me of Priyadarshan's like noughties comedies like Halchal and Chup Chup Ke. I think it reminded me a lot of those two films in particular. And I don't mind those films, but it's not what it was sold to me as. So, and also the music is just like really bad, that there's not a single original song in the whole soundtrack. They're all remixes of existing songs. There's like, I actually, for a film that's not set in Punjab, they all are Punjabi remixes as well, which I found bizarre. And the worst one is like, so there's this huge Punjabi song last year called Long Lachi, which has been annihilated in this song. Like it's been turned into anything with Tulsi Kumar on the vocals sounds awful anyway, but this was really, really bad. So yeah, my verdict on Luka Chuppi is it's just really bad. That's all I can say.
I love that we totally agree on Tulsi Kumar being terrible.
Yeah, like why is she still singing?
Isn't she like related to the T-Series boss or something like that?
Yeah. I think she's his sister, right? I think.
Yeah, that was a very short investigation into why she's getting still songs. But it's funny how we're completely opposite on Kriti Sanan and Hardik Karyan.
Well, you don't like Kartik and you do like Kriti, or what's
exactly.
your
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I don't think Kriti's bad. I think she could be good, but like she did an interview recently with Anupama Chopra where she was saying that, you know, she thinks Alia Bhatt gets opportunities that she wouldn't get because she's not from a film family. But like very objectively speaking, Alia is just a far better actress than Kriti.
Yeah, but I get what Kriti is trying to say though.
I also get it.
You also improve because you keep on getting chances, you know, you work with the best filmmakers, you work with the best teams, so you kind of get to improve upon it. But there is definitely, like, if you're not Deepika, if you're not Alia, I would say you're probably, like, even Katrina Kaif was saying that, like, in an interview when they were doing the post-mortems on Zero and saying, you know, how great she was in it. Even she was saying that a lot of the movies I pick is the ones that are in front of me. So if, like, the top fourth heroine is saying that, you know, like, Kriti and, like, is so much, you know, down that ranking, I totally get what she's saying. Alia does get a lot of chances, but I also think she delivers on those chances.
Yeah, so. But the comparison is like, for example, Kriti has had opportunities to, like, for example, Bareli Ki Barfi is a solid film and all three characters are good characters. But there's a reason why people came out of Bareli Ki Barfi talking about Rajkumar Rao and even Ayushmann Khurrana more than they were speaking about Kriti. I just don't think that she has even delivered as much as she could with the opportunities she's had. Having said that, I do think she has potential to be a good actress.
Yeah.
Do you know how much Alia is omnipresent? Katrina Kaif's next movie, Bharat, she's playing a character called Alia.
Alia is literally everywhere, right? Like, Alia is everywhere you turn. There's something she's doing or something she's in.
Yeah. And she's also filling the Deepika void, right? Like, the Deepika's not around, so, like, the first name is Alia. Everything to Alia. which I will
She's
get
the-
tired of, honestly. I will get
She's
tired
the
of.
Scarlett Johansson of Bollywood.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was talking about it. Amrita, did you see that Vogue video with the 9
Yeah.
actresses?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did you see that?
Yes.
You seem pissed.
No, it was like everybody was talking about it, right? Like it's supposed to be like global actresses, and then you have the cover and it's like Scarlett Johansson sitting there like Mother Mary with like.
How boring does Scarlett look compared to all the other actresses?
How what?
How boring does she look? Like, I'm just like how are these people on the same level? How is Deepika and is it Isa Gonzalez on the same level as Scarlett Johansson? I just don't understand it.
Yeah, like a lot of people were just like, we don't get it. Like, and also like of all the people in Hollywood, like ScarJo is like a very like, she's a little weird choice, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, why ScarJo?
Yeah.
Should it have been Jennifer Lawrence, maybe?
Yeah, that would have made like more sense than like ScarJo. Like, why ScarJo? Or Emma Stone. Emma Stone's just coming off The Favorite, like, but I don't get it.
Yeah. I also found Deepika's answer really weird about describe your movies in one sentence. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
I was like, what? Like, Deepika, you have not even done those movies in, the last 10 years or something of your career. Basically, she said, oh, a boy and a girl fall in love and then the villain comes in. And I was like, wow, that is so reductive of your own, film industry. I found it a really, really weird answer. So it was basically like a
It
Hollywood.
is the story of Padmavat, though.
I guess, but yeah, even the story of Padmavat is not really about Deepika, I guess. It's more about kids.
It's really about like Ranveer's character.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, but like all of Satya Leela Bhansali's movies are about like the titles are always like, oh, come see this movie about Deepika, and then it's always like, but just kidding, just like watch this movie about Ranveer instead.
Yeah.
Like how Baji Ramastani is really about
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Watch how this little drip of oil goes from one six-pack muscle to the other six-pack muscle. That's what Sanjay Leela Bhansali
Just as it caresses Ranveer's nipple.
Yeah. Sujoy on brand. If there is a
I know
difference to
you
be
guys
discussed,
were
Sujoy
deviating.
will
Like,
bring it.
you guys went way below before even you started, so I had to bring it back.
What else do we have? Oh, Haroon, you also finished up Made in Heaven, right?
I love Made in Heaven. I think it's the best Indian web series to have been produced in, actually, since web series have been produced in India. I've seen Sacred Games, I've seen Mirzapur, I've seen a few episodes here and there of other shows that have come out. I'm not a massive fan of Four More Shots, Please, which a lot of people are loving and raving about. It's not my cup of tea, but I think Made in Heaven is a really well-made show, and I think it has the production value of a good like cinematic theatrical movie even, with some very, very good performances. So I loved it.
I said this on Twitter, but I'll say it again. Give 50% of Alia's role to Shobita Dulipali.
She's very good, but I think Alia has her own charm, I think.
Yeah. We'll see more of Shobita and you'll see her charm too. Just spread the workload, man. Spread the workload.
She's I think she's a cross between like Deepika Padukone and Lisa Hayden is what I see when I see her.
Oh, no.
in
I
Made in
saw
Heaven.
Deepika Padukone and Radhika Apte.
Okay,
together.
yeah.
See, that's like that's if I put those two words together, it makes you understand how impressed I am with her.
Yeah, I saw that Twitter post. She was like, it said, Sobita is rich Radhika and poor Deepika.
But even Arjun Mathur is very, very good.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's not got more work before this, to
Because
be
it's
honest.
all going to Alia, man.
Even Arjun Mathur is
It
wrong.
is. She's stealing work from Arjun Mathur. She's stealing work from everybody.
Do you remember Arjun Mathur in Luck by Chance? He was the friend who got sidecasted because Farhan played the better actor friend.
Do you know I've seen Luck by Chance a couple of times, but I never like paid much attention to him in that film. Maybe I need to rewatch it now. Actually,
He is the guy who is the theater actor and does the Doraha monologue, and everybody's like dying out of boredom.
I'm gonna rewatch that scene.
No, I do like the fact that Zoya like keeps these people like like in the back of her mind, and then she just like she might not cast them immediately, but like she like go back to them and like find something that's like really good for them.
But do you think that's always good, Amrita? Because I guess like Kalki is now a Zoya favorite. She was in Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, and then she was in Gully Boy, and now she's in Made in Heaven. I'm not sure if Kalki fits every role that Zoya gives her, personally.
Which one would you think she hasn't fit?
Like, I think even in Made in Heaven, I don't know if she was right for Made in Heaven. I mean, I know there was a lot of discussion about whether she was right for Gully Boy. In fact, a lot of the reviews kind of said that she was the weakest link in the film. But I just think, like, I don't know. Maybe I would have liked to have seen somebody else in Made in Heaven instead of Kalki. Not that she was bad. I just think, like, is she in there just because she's friends with Zoya Akhtar?
Did you want to see Alia in the role?
No. Listen, I love Alia, but even I am happy with the amount we're seeing at the moment. That's enough.
I honestly thought like Kalki was like perfectly cast in Gully Boy. Like that whole scene where like she has that confrontation with Alia and she's just like, we're adults, we can like talk this out. And Alia is like, meet my beer bottle. I thought like that was like perfect. Like I think like if you go to Bombay, like that's basically Kalki. Like that makes absolute sense to me.
I think the best scene about Kalki was when she's like doing the graffiti and she's like, oh, ye art nahi hai, ye war hai, and she's like preaching this socially aware message, and then his friend just disses him immediately, saying, okay, princess, because you live in a fucking palace, you don't really face the real world problems.
In Made in Heaven, I think Kalki is very, very good in those therapy sessions.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. Yeah.
She's very good. Like, I'm not doubting what a good actress she is. I'm just questioning whether her friendship with Zoya Akhtar is going to prove problematic in the future. Is she going to just be casting things for the sake of it? But in Made in Heaven, I think that those therapy sessions, she's very, very good in, and she completely nails those scenes.
Yeah.
What I really dislike about Made in Heaven, though, I have one thing. I don't know, because Amrita hasn't finished it yet.
I think we've done a lot of content non-spoilery for Made in Heaven. So we've posted interviews. We've done a non-spoiler review last week. I think we can get a bit more in spoilers, because otherwise nobody talks about spoilers. I think we can get into it.
Okay. I didn't like Shashank Arora. He plays this video guy, and he always ends up the episode with he's the narrator of sorts, and he just comes across as the douche dude. And I just don't like that casting at all. And
also, how much does he look like Shah Rukh Khan?
No, he looks more like Gaurav from, The Fan.
He just reminds me so much of like a poor man Shah Rukh Khan.
Right. I think so, if you go... Go ahead.
No, I'll tell you the biggest difference between him and Shah Rukh is like Shah Rukh is always likable. Even when he's being a psycho, like you're kind of rooting for him. But like Shashank, poor thing, like I honestly thought like before the end of the first episode, in the middle, like when he starts like shooting those people like as they storm backstage, I actually thought like he was just some rando who was going to use that stuff to like blackmail them or something. I thought he was like the bad guy. Yeah. And then it turned out like he worked for the company, and I was just like, oh, like I didn't see that coming. Because you're right, Sujoy, like he does have these douche vibes like all throughout the thing, and the moralizing. Like I've seen like 3 episodes now, and like the thing is just like it's not. I don't know why they put that.
He wants to. He believes that he is the moral voice of the company, and he's not.
No.
Yeah, that character is just like weird.
But I think Zoya is aware of that, and she wants to portray that. Like all these people are broken. All these people are damaged goods.
I do think the voiceover works in a few episodes. In the dowry episode, I thought it was really, really powerful. When she walks out, but it's just that whole scene, the Dulan walking out of the what do you call it? The mandap? Is that what you call it, right?
Yeah.
I thought that with the voiceover, it really, really worked for me. But I actually asked Alankrita about it, and it seems like they were not sure about everything in the show. Like a lot of the things like tukke pe chal gaya, so it's still kind of like a trial and error this first episode, first season. So I think I hope they get greenlit for season 2, and I think then they'll be more. they'll be more sure of what they want to do and what they want to do.
I think it's more to do with like they wanted to have that consistency of every episode having this voiceover, and sometimes it doesn't work at all. Like for me, that dowry scene and her walking out, and she says, I'm not going to pay anybody to get married to me, and and then she walks out. That would have been more powerful than this guy talking about good on you, sister.
It worked for me. I just I like the line that he said, women of India, you're worth more than that, or something like that. I like that. I don't know. Maybe he just had too much douchebaggery up until that point that it didn't work for people. But I just like that line. But one thing, there's a big reveal at the end of the Tara character. I saw that coming a mile ahead. Like,
do you know, that's one of the things that I really liked about it, though, because I thought it was just more layered and more clever than half the stuff that I see coming out of web series. Not just in India, but just generally. Like, I just thought it was quite clever, the unraveling of Tara's character, and not just her character, but even Arjun Mathur's character. The story about his teenage kind of adolescent years and coming to terms with his sexuality. I just thought it unraveled very well over the course of the series. I think a season 2 would definitely be good, but I've seen calls for like a spin-off that's focused on Jazz's character, which is the girl whose brother is the heroin addict. And there's been like quite a lot of tweets just asking for a spin-off for her to have her own series as well. But I just think it's so good that India's in this space where they can explore these avenues, right?
Yeah. What I also really liked about it is the idea that, okay, there are people that perpetrate evil, but there's the whole enabling society around it, that I really, really appreciated. Like, even Tara's character, she does shady stuff, but she's just surrounded by all of these different factors. Her mom, her dynamic with her sister, and how poisonous that whole environment she now is after marriage. It just like it's such a good show.
The grooming parlor when she gets education about how to live a high life. Wow.
Did you find her likable? I found her quite dislikable in the show.
Oh no, I loved her. I loved her performance, and I loved the character, because I totally get that. Like, just that hunger to be a go-getter, it's basically like Gully Boy. You basically do whatever you can to, get out of that. Not Gully Boy as in Ranveer's character, but more the surrounding characters around him, especially like the garage owner, You just gotta do stuff to get out of the situation you're in. And
in the words of Tony Stark, whatever it takes.
But one question though, and I asked this to Alankita and Rima, and they were kind of cagey on the answers. Do you think this show will cross over? No? Can a show cross over?
I hope it does.
Crossover to what? Like to a non-Asian audience?
Yeah, like a Narcos. Why don't we have a Narcos? Like, it annoys me.
I don't think a elite Delhi kind of web series is going to be the thing to cross over, though. I personally can't see that happening, because if that was going to happen, it could have, like, for example, Crazy Rich Asians is not too dissimilar to Dil Dharakne Do in its storytelling format or in its aesthetics, but I think that the West associate India with a certain image, and this does not fit that stereotype at all.
But then Sacred Games didn't cross over, like Inside Edge didn't cross over, Breathe didn't cross over, and Four More Shots didn't, so I don't know.
Sacred Games was the only one that I would classify as actually good out of that list.
Right. Yeah. I agree. And even for a lot of people, Sacred Games had some issues, but there's terrible Korean shows that get super, super popular. Narcos, and Narcos is not perfect, and it's totally fallen off after season 2, and it's still popular. So why can't we? It's just a question that I don't understand. Is it like just like a chicken and egg situation where the distribution system is not there, or we're not marketing correctly, or is it people that, like Haroon said, don't accept us in certain ways? Like, I don't think Western audiences can can even see a brown man being a badass, for example. You know, it's just something that they maybe don't connect with unless it's like super kung fu kind of thing.
Netflix did try to market Sacred Games for a wider audience. They did try.
They did, but it didn't work. I don't think it worked. Like,
no, but they did at least position it. I mean, I certainly know that the press they were doing around Sacred Games with Seth was very much positioning it as India's answer to Narcos, but it just didn't quite lift off like that.
Yeah, and it's a good show. I'm not even gonna say they tried and they failed in the execution. I don't think they did. So like it's just a question that I'm kind of keen to understand, and I'm hoping more streaming shows will come out and we can kind of hopefully one will make it more popular.
Another question I have is: is the fact that these shows are casting actors that don't get opportunities in films just going to be their livelihood now? Like, for example, I guess like Arjun Mathur or the girl who plays Tara, they're just never going to get that big movie chance now, are they? Because they're going to be seen to have found their forte in the web space, which I find a little bit disheartening.
Yeah, it's interesting, but like somebody tweeted at me and they were saying, like, aren't you pissed off that only now we get to see Shobita's talent on screen? And honestly, I had seen her in Raman Raghav 2.0. I'd seen her in Chef, and she never stood out to me. So, Made in Heaven does give that opportunity for these people to shine. And like Kriti Sanon, I don't know if they will have the opportunities to kind of like build upon that success or build upon that awareness, because again, like we're set in the Alia, Deepika and the 3-4 heroes we have. And I don't know how Arjun Mathur would even fit in that, I don't know. I don't know I don't know if filmmakers want to create that space for them. And I think that's sad because we just end up seeing the same old faces all the time. Like, I'm tired of Varun and Alia together in a movie, for real. Like, I think even Varun was saying that. Wasn't it to you, Harun, that he was saying that we're not going to be working together for a while?
For a little while at least,
Yeah. And I loved him for that statement, and it almost made him forgive the terrible hair he had in your interview.
That was his look in Street Dancer.
Yeah, that's gonna be shit. That movie is gonna be terrible.
Is that directed by Remo D'Souza, your favorite?
Yeah, exactly. The worst filmmaker currently working in Bollywood, Remo D'Souza. That's the full name. That's the full title.
That's a really big accolade to give somebody the worst director in Bollywood. There's a lot of contenders for that.
I honestly, I've done the math. If you find one worse than him, let me know.
I'll have a think.
Yeah, let's have a think. Let's move on to our main review, right? Or
let's go to Ishq. Chalo Ishq ladaye.
So I pulled out on our random year generator for next episode. Oh, by the way, maybe people don't know this, but we're going on a little break in April. So I think the next episode might be the last one before we go on break. So it's an important one. So the year I've pulled out is 2007, which had Shah Rukh's Om Shanti Om and Chak De India, which I know a lot of people have said we need to talk about Chak De India. Then we have Salman's partner, Salame-Ishq and Sawariya. Both Salame-Ishq and Sawariya are kind of, it's not full roles, but we've added those. And then Aamir had Tare Zameen Pe, a movie which is guaranteed to make me cry. But I think Amrita might also cry having 3 Aamir movies consecutively on the show. So somebody will cry. So that's 2007 for us. But we're taking it back to Ishq. Hey-o. 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 The summary of Ishq, because I think not a lot of people might remember what this movie is about. So this is the IMDb summary, the first one that comes up. It's written by Soumitra. Harbans Rai and Ranjit Rai are 2 wealthy businessmen who absolutely loathe poverty and poor people. As fate would have it, Harbans Rai's daughter Madhu, who's played by Juhi Chawla, falls for a poor mechanic Raja, while Ranjit Rai's son Ajay romances a poor girl, Kajol. When Harbans and Ranjit come to know of it, they try various ways to separate the lovers. So it's basically the movie that Deepika was explaining in her Vogue video, but it's in 1999. So basically she was... it's this movie is of a different era. Like watching this, I was watching it and I was thinking, I remember the release of Ishq, and I remember that this was actually quite a high budget movie. Like, they had 4 actors, like a multi-stars, that were pretty much all top of their game. The music, I remember the cassette and the CD that came out, and even the way they were dressed and all, they'd spent money on this movie. Aamir had just he came off of the success of Rangila and Raja Hindustani, and he made Ghulam after this. Juhi was really on the top of her game. I mean, she was in like 5 or 6 movies just that year. And she was really leaning into the whole comedy thing, because she also did Mr. and Mrs. Khiladi that year, which is one of the best comedies ever made. Mm-hmm. And then Ajay and Kajol were dating at that moment. And this movie really cashes in on that relationship to the point where Ajay and Kajol's characters are named Ajay and Kajol.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Asim, it's 1997, not 1998.
Oh, 1998. Sorry. Thank you for the correction. Haroon, man, I think we're all going to be shitting on this movie. I have a feeling. So I want to start with a positive note. You love this movie.
Look, Ishq is not my favorite Aamir Khan film, or my favorite Juhi Chawla film, or my favorite Kajol film, or my favorite Ajay Devgan film. It's my favorite film, period, of all time ever. Like, I have watched this film so many times. I've watched it on VHS, then I bought the DVD. Then when I went to university, I had to go buy another copy of the DVD because I couldn't live without this film. Like, I've watched it on YouTube. I've just watched this film so many times because I love everything about it. I love, in order, if I have to go in order of what things I love about this film, I love that my four top stars of the 90s were in this together. I love that, 2 of my favorite actresses of all time, Kajol and Juhi Chawla, were best friends in this film. I love that Aamir Khan and Juhi Chawla were back together in this film, but doing comedy, which they didn't really explore together in Qiyamat Se Qiyamat Tak, and I haven't seen their... actually they did in Hum Hai Pyar Ke, of course, but I just thought it was more... I just thought it was funnier comedy in this film between the 2 of them. And I love the fantasy of this film because it's so fake. Like, the sets, the houses. Like, I grew up thinking, is this what homes in India are like? Like, with these massive fountains in the middle of their living rooms and these spiral staircases that come down. And, is this the same house that's used in Hero Number 1 and Hum Aapke Hain Kaun? These are the kind of questions that were going through my head when I watched Ishq so many years ago. And there's still questions that are going through my head today. And then I love the music of this film as well. Right from Humko Tumse Pyar Hai, which is a song with Ajay Devgan and Aamir Khan right at the start, to Neend Churai Meri, which is one of my favorite songs of all time, just because that synthesizer on there, to Mr. Lover Lover, where you have Johnny Lever rapping as well. There's just so much I love. And the humor is ridiculous, right? Like, Dalip Tahil gets hit on the head and all of a sudden he has a massive lump on his forehead, or, Ajay Devgan walking across a pipe to get to Kajol. Like, all those things are just the most ridiculous things that would never happen, but for me were very convincing in this film because the performances were so excellent. Have I spoken about Ishq enough?
Amrita, I think we need to go to you now. Honestly, Haroon, we'll try not to pile on. Let's do that though. But let's go with Amrita first.
Bring it, guys. Bring it.
All these years I used to wonder, who does Indra Kumar make movies for? And now I have the answer. Also, Haroon, I just want to, I was just listening to you, and I just want you to know, I actually have an uncle who did have a fountain in his living room.
Wow!
He sadly died 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't remember what he looked like, but I did remember that he had a fountain in his living room. So yes, there are houses in India with fountains in the living room.
So that's the house that that Indra Kumar obviously modelled this set on, I'm guessing.
Obviously.
Yeah.
That was his inspiration.
And the spiral staircase, it has been there to mark the memory of Sridevi running down the stairs singing Main Teri Dushman. That's the only explanation there, you know.
So I saw this movie and it was like an instant blast from the past. Like I'd forgotten what Indra Kumar movies are like. I'd forgotten the aesthetic of the 90s. I'd forgotten like everything about this film. And then I saw it and I was just immediately transported back to 1997. And I was just like, oh yeah, this is how we used to do it. So Indra Kumar makes his movies at like a higher pitch or a higher register than anybody else I know. Like it's like they talk about David Dhawan movies being loud, but Indra Kumar movies are like off planet. He gets even Aamir to do it. Like, like Aamir is like really like, that introduction scene where the two of them are like trying to sell. I still don't know what the hell they were trying to sell. It's some sort of oil, but why are those monarch lizards next to them? Like, I still don't get it.
Some chipkali ka tel or something like that.
So wait, is it like they put the chipkali in tail and then marinate it and sell it? Like, what is it?
I don't know.
I was going to ask you guys, because I'm not from India. I was like, is this like some cooking oil or is this like a hair oil? What is this?
Yeah, it's possibly like body or hair moisturizer.
Yeah.
But I don't understand what they do with those poor animals. Like, I was just like, wait, I remember this, but I don't remember what it is. I think they mentioned this in other movies as well. Like, I've heard of it before, but I still don't know what it is.
Is it like when in Tequila they have that scorpion and it's just like the Indian version?
That's what I was thinking as well. But these are alive and there's like a bunch of them. So
I'm really surprised we're spending 5 minutes talking about the tail.
These are the things that I noticed, Sujoy. But like I was telling the boys before, like the only thing that I really remembered about this movie was that bank scene where Aamir does this impersonation of Sadashiv Amrapurkar. And you know what? It's racist and it becomes ableist later and it's just all kinds of wrong. But I still laughed. It's true. I did laugh. It's stupid, It's like one of those things that like are so stupid that you have to laugh. And that's what the vibe of this movie is, like up until the halfway point. But there's some weird things about this movie. Like, why is Juhi such a bitch? Like, I've never seen Juhi be a bitch before. And like this movie, she was just like an outright bitch for like no good reason. And I was just like, why? You're Juhi. I love you. Don't be like this. And then there was Ajay, who's like, I don't know, like some sort of negative space for charisma when he's with like these people. And then
can I ask a question to follow up on that? Because I was going through Ajay's film career up to Ishq. Is Ajay a bad actor? Like, it's the first time.
Yeah.
Is Ajay even a bad actor?
So he's like, in some movies, he's amazing. Like in Zakhmi, he was amazing. And then there's this movie that he did with Saif that I think is like underrated. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I love Kache Dhage. Yeah.
Right? It's a good movie. I thought it was a good movie. I don't know.
I thought you were about to say Omkara, but okay.
We're on brand, man. We're on brand.
We're talking about this one particular era. But like, yes, Omkara as well. Yes, sure. But actually,
sure.
Omkara Saif is like way better than anybody else, I think. But yeah, so there's this, I think like it depends on the film and like his company. And like in this one, like everybody was mugging for like except for Kajol. Kajol was like weirdly restrained. Like I think in like all her scenes, she kept trying to like pass the baton over to like Ajay, and Ajay was just fumbling it every single time.
I'm really surprised Kajol even did this film, because I think on paper it's such a Juhi Chawla. Like Juhi Chawla has the best female role in the film, so I don't know why Kajol even agreed to do it. I'm so happy she did, but I don't know why she would do it.
I think she was just signing films with Ajay at this point because they just wanted to be together. Because she did like a whole, remember Halchal and like all these weird movies that she did.
I am 16.
So I have to tell you guys, I like when I interview celebrities, if they're associated with Ishq in any way, I will try and find a way to make the whole interview about Ishq. And I was in Mumbai a couple of years ago, and I was recording. I recorded a program with Juhi Chawla where she quite happily spoke about Ishq because obviously she had a really good role in it, and she was praised for it at the time, and she was quite happy. I mean, the only thing she said was that it was complete chaos on set, and like nobody had a clue what was going on, and that the film was shot over a really long period of time with a lot of different directors, even though Indra Kumar took kind of credit for it all. But Kajol didn't want to talk about the movie at all. In fact, we had to stop the recording and I had to convince her that we must talk about Ishq. So I don't think she passes it very high on her kind of list of films.
That sounds exactly like Kajol. I would have been disappointed if she had reacted in any other way.
Like literally, I had to convince her. I was like, Kajol, this is my favorite film of all time. I have come to Mumbai only to talk to you about it.
This is happening.
This is like when Sujoy asked Rishi Kapoor about Ajuba. And Rishi Kapoor was like, "You liked Ajuba? What the f***? Get out of the press conference."
And then like there's that whole rapey thing that happens with the second half, which is like, what? Where did this come from? Like
happens twice.
Yeah, like rape so good that we have to do it twice. And then like you have the climax where it's like it's like really all about like Aamir and Ajay getting back together. I actually rewound and like I couldn't believe it, but like Juhi and Ajay arrive at the docks together, and then like Juhi
it's
just
all
vanishes. Juhi's not even there. And Ajay falls, and then suddenly like Juhi shows up to say, Ajay!
It's bros before bahus.
But generally the movie doesn't give a crap about the Aamir-Juhi love thing. Like, and apparently they didn't get along at all during shooting this movie, and they stopped
had a massive
talking.
fight during the sets of this film. Yeah.
And they stopped talking for 7 years, and this was the last movie they actually worked together in. And I think it shows when you rewatch it with that knowledge that why. I mean, obviously the movie tries to bank on the, cash in on the Ajay Kajol relationships for sure, but it still could have like an equivalent with, Juhi and Aamir, which it really, really doesn't.
Juhi told me that shooting was halted for a month because of that argument.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like nobody turned up on set the next day. And Aamir was forced to apologize to Juhi, but she still didn't accept his apology. I think he spat on her hand or something. It was something to do with spitting. Spitting was involved of some sort during this fallout.
Yeah, I think during this time, Aamir was quite infamous for on-set pranks.
Oh, is he that one where he like, I'm going to read your destiny and then he spits in your hand? I've heard of that one. Like, give me your hand, I'll read the, Haathon ki lakire, and then he spits in it. I think that might be the joke he pulled off then.
That might be.
Oh, God, that's terrible. But maybe the movie Ishq is an autobiography of the jokes that Aamir pulls on people, because he basically is murdering women with fake knives left and right. Like at least
once in the belly, once in the forehead. Like
once in the forehead. Like, wow. Like, yeah. But like, let's do talk about like a little bit of the positives. The movie.
There's so many positives, guys.
No, I'd like to point out this. Like, we've been shitting on this movie, right? But the first half of this movie is like scene after scene, or like set piece after set piece of just comedy thrown at your face at 120 frames per second. And the dialogues of this movie are next level shit. Like like next level shit in the sense like you can quote these lines.
Yeah.
You can. These are really quotable lines, but at the same time,
your mouth stinks. That's my favorite.
Well, like I think like I can relate why some people can't relate to Andaz Apna Apna. I cannot relate to Ishq in that way, But even if you think what Haroon said about the movie being artificial and fake, it's set in a totally different world that does not exist. And Andaz Apna Apna is that for me, but even then it's very, very much likable and we quote it all the time, but that did not happen with Ishq. If
we just take a couple of those set pieces, like for example, the shopping mall scene is one of my favorite scenes in Ishq. And I just love everything about it from the point that both cars pull up, and then obviously they have this car crash and the Andawala stand gets knocked over. From there to the point where Juhi smears toothpaste all over Aamir's face. It's just non-stop jokes. Like there's not a single thing that I don't find funny even now in that whole sequence. There's some things that when I watch the film back now that I find questionable, like when Aamir kisses Juhi. Like now that seems really. Now watching that, you would never expect that in a film where a guy is forcing himself on a girl to end an argument. Obviously, that's really completely out of place now. But apart from that, there's not much else in Ishq that I don't still find funny.
No, but that dynamic of that scene was so weird because
which one?
The kissing scene.
Because
he kisses her to shut her up, right?
Yeah.
But then she kisses him back to have revenge. But then she gets shamed by the entire village because she kissed him back, and then they go away for a song. So I was like, what weird ass dynamic is this? The thing I like about that department store scene, because first of all, that department store is such a gharibon ki basti, like I don't know what kind of shopping you do there, but anyway. Why was Juhi buying fighting for a family pack size of Colgate, first of all? But anyway, beside that,
consumerism hadn't arrived in India.
It is. It's such a pre kuch kuch hota hai movie,
Yes.
But what I loved about it, because I think it's the first time Juhi shows up really, or comes, and I'm like, finally Juhi is here. And then the delivery, she's so much better than everybody in comedic timing and delivery.
Yeah.
When she says, "Us bichare ke ande phod diye," I cracked up. Her delivery is so good. She is the best.
I have to say another thing where we're talking about how this movie is set in that era, right? In the 90s. Remember when Bollywood had Parsi characters and mocked their accent? And this has Deven Verma playing that Parsi guy. And he introduces the Nawab played by Razak Khan as Nawab Nadin Din Dadin. Nawab Nadin Din Dadin Changezi.
Yeah. But it was again that it's such a thing of its time where they're playing, Ninja Chacha is playing a effeminate Nawab, right? And he's he gets very sexually almost aroused by, the statue that has the butt in front, So yeah, I mean, it does play to all of these tropes, but it's.
Also, what a good film to. I mean, only I think it's a good film. But anyway, what a good film to show all these supporting actors who in today's Bollywood. I sometimes wonder where are all the supporting actors? We don't really have people who come in for comedy into films anymore. Johnny Lever doesn't really have a place in modern day Bollywood anymore. Dalip Tahil, I thought he was quite funny in this film.
But
the late Sadashiv Amrapurkar, he's great in this film.
But it's we have today's Tiku Talsania as Pankaj Tripathi.
It's not quite the same though. It's not quite the same.
But I get what Haroon is saying, because as I was watching this, the movie, weirdly enough, the movie that I was thinking of was Bewafa, which is another Kumar movie, which has the same I hate Garib kind of thing where you have these weird high society sort of thing where everybody hates poor people and there's this whole thing. But that movie just doesn't take off because it doesn't have the supporting characters that Ishq has. Tiku Talsania and
Johnny Lever
and Sadashiv Amrapurkar and Dalip Tahil and all these people, they're really good at what they do.
Yeah.
and they contribute to this movie being like, especially the first half, like they actually do contribute to that whole thing. Like if you didn't have that, those comedy pieces wouldn't work. Which is what happens in like Bewafa. Like, you know, he's trying to make it work with a bunch of like Rajshri rejects, and it doesn't work at all.
No, but now it doesn't happen at all. Like, even in Total Dhamal, like, I don't like Indra Kumar's films now. I like Indra Kumar's films in the 90s, but...
I think that's more to do with, like, the dialogues, though. Like, we don't have the Kader Khans anymore. And the dialogue here written by some guy called Tanveer, I think. I don't
Tanveer Khan, yeah.
Tanveer Khan. Yeah, the dialogues are just amazing in this one. Like, we spoke about Maine Pyar Kiya with, you know, Tadakti Hui Bhadakti Raat and all that. This one is like, Samundar ko ladka raha hai, Sailab aa jayega and all that. We don't get to hear those in Total Dhamal.
Even like, I think the closest, well, not even the closest because it wasn't very good, but the only film in recent years where I remember like this kind of ensemble was maybe Dilwale, which did have a lot of like comic actors in it. But it's just nowhere near as good. Or as funny.
Yeah, I mean, this is really like Govinda era of comedy, right? Like we obviously on the poll we had a few other Khan movies but this is also the year the Hero Number 1 came out, Mr. and Mr. Khiladi, Aflatun, Border, Daur, Gupt. You know, so this is kind of that era. And Indra Kumar is funny because he didn't really start off in this kind of comedy genre. He started off with like really romantic kind of movies like Dil
Beta,
and even Raja. And with Ishq, the massive success of Ishq really solidified Indra Kumar. And this is really what he's been doing since then. I mean, he went back with the Rishte and stuff like that, but that also flopped. But his big success has really been Masti and the Dhamal movies, I guess. And apparently he's going to be directing Hera Pheri 3, which sounds terrible. But Amrita, the Bewafa you mentioned, is that the one with Akshay Kumar with the blonde goatee and the sideburns?
Yes,
oh my God.
yes,
oh
yes,
my God.
yes.
Yeah. Oof.
Okay, by the way, since you mentioned Dil, Beta and Raja and this, I think the whole rape simulation thing might be an Indra Kumar thing rather than Aamir Khan.
Oh, that's a good point.
Good catch. Yeah. Raping to prove a point, you know, that seems to be a very kind of...
But nobody is actually raped in Ishq.
No. It's not. No, neither in Dil.
I'm just saying, I watched this film with very innocent 5-year-old eyes. Actually, 1997, 6-year-old eyes. And I like never saw it like that, obviously, at that time. But even when I watch it now, I still don't see it like that.
Haroon, do you still have those 6-year-olds eyes in a box somewhere that you put them on and watch it?
Bollywood has well and truly corrupted my 6-year-old eyes. But I just don't think it's... I never really found it as dark as that.
Yeah, but like heroes don't rape heroines in Bollywood movies. They just threaten them to fall in love with them. Like that's usually what, or make them realize something. Like this is one of the whole Aamir-Juhi dynamic is the one where, you know, in the 80s used to have that dialogue ke iska main ghamand dod dunga, you know, that kind of thing. And that line is not said in this movie, but it clearly is like, oh, ghamandi ladki, you know, maza chakaunga, that kind of thing. And I mean, this is the same thing that happens in Dil. Happens here. And then you could also go further and say, Tere Naam with Salman, where he like, I'm almost going to rape you, but why don't you understand how much I love you? You know, that kind of stuff. And I think I don't enjoy seeing that. And I think it's a very harmful.
Just very controversially, guys, don't you think this was a really good film to promote equality in India and, you know, cross class, caste love even?
I love the reach.
Like, honestly, that pre-interval scene in the car garage with all 4 stars and both their dads, or certainly Juhi and Ajay's dads, I love that scene where they set alight that like fake marriage contract thing. I always thought this film was all about like unity and equality.
What I really found interesting was how combative everybody has, like combative poetry, you know, like ishq hai ye, hum wo kar denge, jal jayega, mar jayega, you know, that like, straight ahead in the camera, and everybody has a few of these.
Apna time aayega.
Yeah. And the funny part is also they have this shot and everybody looks terrible in that shot. Like
Which shot? Which one?
when they're doing the combative poetry, like after and it's like a really close up of Ajay, Kajol and all the four actors, and clearly it's been shot much later because it's lit differently. They have different haircuts, and even the line, like obviously they also have a height difference, so it just like it looks, the whole scene is just terrible.
Do you guys think that this film's success, because it was a big hit, and clearly I wasn't the only one who loved it, but do you think this film's success was kind of unintentional? Because what I remember is this film released I think a week after Dil To Pagal Hai released, or a week before Dil To Pagal Hai released, and I remember at the time Dil To Pagal Hai was the film that everybody was going to the cinema to watch, and we, like my family, we only watched Ishq because Dil To Pagal Hai was full that day. Like it was an accidental watching of Ishq rather than an intentional choice to go to the cinema and watch this film. So I just wonder if the film became a hit because people couldn't get tickets to watch Dil To Pagal Hai, or did people genuinely like it as much as I did?
It's like overflow business. Like that's how
I mean, to be honest, a lot of like big event films are only successful because you can't get tickets to the one you actually want to go watch.
Yeah. And a lot of those are Ajay Devgan movies, I think.
It's true. You're right.
Yeah, I know. Like Shivai, same thing there.
Shivai,
right?
Yeah. Even Son of Sardar, I think it released on the same day as Jab Tak Hai Jaan.
Yeah.
And it was only successful because there was an overflow.
Yeah.
So that's the strategy. No, but you're right. Like, I think you're partly right. Like, that did help them. But also, Indra Kumar was like, he's a legit, like in the 90s, he was a legit successful director.
Yeah.
Like, people actually did want to go see an Indra Kumar film.
Yeah.
Like, Dil was a huge hit. Beta was a huge hit. Raja was a huge hit.
He was a name director, like I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he made Man, and then all of that goodwill.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the songs a little bit? Because the soundtrack is amazing. The first song is Humko Tumse Pyar Hai. I am shocked about the picturization of this song. Can I summarize the events that happen in this song?
Yeah.
Girl is alone, scared in a city. It's like a sunsan sadak. Aamir and Ajay jump in front of her. After that, they've broken into her car and they won't let her drive away. Then they profess her love in a sunsan sadak. Then they hypnotize her. When she tries to drive away, they stand in front of her car, tell her they'll die if she leaves. We don't know who this girl is. They'll die if she leaves. Then they start crying. Then they have a three-way with her. All of this done in Anu Malik's voice.
It is so disturbing. Oh my God.
Like, if I summarize this, like, it's crazy. Like, it is crazy what goes on in this song. How bad does Anu Malik's voice sound on Ajay Devgan? But then 5 minutes later is Kumar Shanu's voice, and that also sounds terrible on Ajay Devgan's.
So I have a theory though, right? So Anu Malik gets lyrics credit in this movie, and I think Humko Tumse Pyar Hai was written by Anu Malik, and it also reminds me of... It also reminds me of, the bad poetry that he always does when he used to judge Indian Idol. So like Humko Tumse Pyar Hai, Jiya Bekarar Hai, Aaja Meri Bulbul Tera Intezar Hai. That does sound like what Anu Malik would write.
I think he also wrote the chorus to Mr. Lover Lover.
Of course he did.
I mean, this is the man who famously sang that, that song that we all remember from our childhoods, Rain is Falling. It's falling.
My heart is beating.
It's beating. It's beating.
It's beating.
Oh, dear. No. Come back. Everybody come back.
I like the soundtrack.
Of course you do.
Yeah. There's nothing to dislike in any of these songs.
I like the soundtrack. I'm specifically talking about the picturization of Humko Tumse
Pyar Hai.
Oh my lord. You gotta give me this, Haroon, man. That is problematic AF.
I don't know. I can only see this film through very, very rose-tinted glasses.
Eyeballs that you keep in your wardrobe.
I guess like it's like the film itself is almost like a drama play being acted out in a film, right? Because everything, like I said earlier, just looks so artificial. Like the set of Humko Tumse Pyar Hai, is so fake, and yet you're buying into it.
Was this the same set as Sanju where they had that song?
They restored it.
Is that the same place?
I don't know.
It looked like the same square, or I don't know, maybe a lot of... Is that like a... Is that how squares look in
It looks
India?
a little bit similar to the song in Maine Prem Kyun Kiya?
मैं प्रेम की दीवानी हूँ.
No, the one with Salman and Shushmita Sen in it.
Oh,
that song
Laga Re.
Yeah, the set's a bit similar to that as well.
I was thinking Maine Pyar Kiya with Mere Rang Mein.
Okay, that too as well.
Also kind of... Yeah, okay. Also problematic.
Also, guys, can we just talk about Neem Churai Meri and how incredible that song is? Like, they go down a sinkhole, they're in a sinkhole, and all of a sudden, they're in this, like, crazy, like, club. Like, that's the best song ever.
They go in a sinkhole?
Like, they go down this hole in the ground, and then all of a sudden, they're in this bar, and then they've got that guy, like, chasing them around, and then there's this other guy who's, like, shooting at them. It's the best sequence ever in a film.
Was that song supposed to be hip-hop? Because they're doing like a lot of finger pointing and bad running mans, you know?
So, Neem Churai Meri is a copy of a song called Sending All My Love by a band called Linear.
Oh, what is Linear? Is that like a indie pop band or something?
No, it's a 1990s pop band from, I don't know, America, I think.
Okay.
But then, so there was this controversy of Amal Malik copying or getting inspired by the song and putting it in the Golmaal soundtrack. And Anu Malik got really offended that he was not given the credits. And then Amal Malik said, "You don't deserve the credit because I was inspired by the original, not you."
And isn't that his nephew anyway?
Yeah. So they don't get along very well, I think.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's Bollywood.
So, yeah, I think... And was that the same set as Kali Kali Aankhein from Bazigar?
No.
It looked very similar.
The floors were lit.
Right. Yeah. No, it's still a good song, and it felt very Guptish. I don't know why, but it reminded me of kind of that era. But I think my favorite song is unfortunately Mr. Lava Lava.
Great song.
Because, except the part of Johnny Lever, Mr. Lava Lava, that part I don't like, but I really like the... Yeah, that part, because I was just thinking and I remember this interview with, I think it was the Rajiv Masand round table or the Anupama Chopra not so round table with female singers. And they were saying that heroines need to push back and say, we need more lines in a song.
Yeah.
Because like, even if you look at the breakup song, the girl will only have one how do you call it? One stanza, one verse in it.
Yeah.
The rest is all Arijit Singh pretty much, right? And this is happening more and more. And I just found it very refreshing that a song on all the 5 actors in the movie was just sung by 2 women. And it was so refreshing that I thought, wow, this is actually really cool. And I think it's a really cool song. And
also one of the few times that you've had, like, they were all 4 top singers of 1997. You had Udit Narayan, Kumar Sanu, Alka Yagnik, and Kavita Krishnamurti. And that was a big, it's a big collaboration musically as well.
The song I also really liked, and because of, again, this voice, is Ishq Hua. Because that voice is, I think the singer is Vibha Kumar, I think. Is that what her name is? Vibha Sharma.
Vibha Sharma, yeah.
And again, it was a voice that I'd not heard at all. And it just seemed very, very nice. It's kind of like the opposite of Tulsi Kumar. It's actually, it's also kind of a very high-pitched voice, but it just seemed, I just liked it. I didn't like the sad song at all, by the way.
There's some trivia about Ishq Hua, though, that the intro Ishq Hua, Kaise Hua, that whole melody is basically recycled from the whistling part of Ae Mere Humsafar from Bazigar.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So if you listen to Ae Mere Humsafar and the whistling part that happens before, it's the same melody.
But this is like peak Anu Malik time, so it's peak plagiarism. We know that, right? Like Anu Malik mostly like...
Right. Bazigar was Anu Malik again.
Yeah.
So he just recycled his own track.
His own stuff. Yeah. Amrita, what was your favorite song, if you had any?
I don't.
You don't? None?
No. I didn't like the songs in this film at all.
Really?
You didn't like the songs or the film?
I didn't like it when it came out, and I didn't like it now. Like, I was just like, I tried to give it because I'd forgotten what the songs were, and then like I saw it, and then I was just like, no.
So you didn't even get my joke ke Neend Amrita ki udai kisne, voters ne sanam?
I heard the song, just don't care for that.
Okay.
Guys, here's a bit of trivia for you. I don't know if this is true, but I'm just seeing this online. It kind of makes sense though. Apparently Madhuri Dixit was offered the part of Juhi Chawla. Makes sense because it's the first Indra Kumar film, or certainly it was the first Indra Kumar film after 3 films where he didn't work with Madhuri. So he probably did offer it to her first. But I'm so glad she said no. I think Juhi was perfect for that role. And ironically, Juhi was offered Dil To Pagal Hai, which is what Madhuri said no to this film to do. But she was offered Karishma's role in Dil To Pagal Hai.
Yeah, I'm glad Juhi took this role. I think she really... I think she's basically the best out of all 4 of them.
Also, like I said earlier, what was like, why would Kajol have done this? But also, why would Ajay have done this? I don't think either of them had really anything to gain from doing this film. Even as a couple, it was Aamir and Juhi who got most to shine.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I'm looking at what Ajay was doing at that time, and the movies he had was Jaan with Twinkle Khanna, Dil Jale, Jung, Hakikat, Gunda Raj. So it's not...
So I think this was his shot at the A-list, because he was doing a whole bunch of like B-list movies, and they all had the same like Ajay for a long time in the 90s just made the same movie over and over again. It was like he's the illegitimate son of like a mafia don, or like somebody who's like really rich, and then he fights with somebody for something, and like in the end he gets like a respectable name in society. Like that's literally like about 10 different movies that he did.
So I think really things changed after Ishq, because immediately after he does Major Saab, Pyar To Hona Hai, Zakham came out the next year, Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam. So yeah, he really, like Ishq changed things for him, I feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think everybody else was really doing some good work. Like Kajol had just done Gupt. She just come out of Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. Aamir, I also already told you guys about. So Ajay was probably the weakest link career-wise at that time. So yeah, I think he probably benefited the most out of Ishq. So that's why he probably did it, I feel.
I will say that Ajay knew his, he knew the role that he has to play. Like, it wasn't that he had he knew when to cede space to Aamir, especially in the comedic bits. Yeah. So he played straight man very well.
What did you, when you saw Kajol's uncle, did you know immediately that guy is gonna, he's up to no good?
Yes.
I think the supporting cast have a reputation to fill up their roles with.
Yes.
Like Tiku Talsania, Sadashiv, Dalip Tahil, and the uncle guy what's his name? Can't remember. Anyway, but I'm the villain. All of them have a role to play. The Mohan Joshi is the guy who plays his uncle, and Damlia, the villain with the speech impediment.
Right. Yeah, he was such. Yeah, for me, he's always like Amitabh's dad in Hum. That's the role I always kind of think of. That's the one. It was also funny, like, because they were so much reliant on the real life, romance between Ajay and Kajol, that in the movie, the romance has no, like, you just kind of need to accept it, that they're like this massively in love couple. Like the first time he meets her, he immediately puts a ring on it. Like the moment he tells her he loves her, he just puts a ring on it and then starts singing a song. And I think he takes her to the field where Aishwarya got shot in Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam. I don't know. I don't know, Ajay, man. Why does he keep taking women to that same field in movies? Like, what is he trying to tell them?
Jora jori chane ke khet mein.
I also like Kajol's first impression of, of Ajay is just like when Juhi's like getting mad at him, she's just like, leave him alone. He seems very sharif. Right? And that's literally it. And then after that, they're like in love.
Yeah.
Even Sadashiv says, "Mera beta
बहुत शरीफ है.
शराफत की मिसाल है मिसाल."
Not misal, Sharafat ki misail hai misail. And then he like comes out of his car holding those Dettol bottles full of like suspicious oil with like those monitor lizards. And then I'm just like, what?
He's wearing a white suit and he sits down on the path.
The movie has really it's really weird with how it deals with like parental dynamics, because clearly they hate their kids hate their parents, but they still get really sad when somebody doesn't come to their wedding.
And how many times will Sadashiv realize things? Like, how many times do we give him redemption? Like, oh, he's been evil, but he's now he loves his boy, and then he becomes evil again.
No, but it's also like a lot of this emotional guilting of children, like, oh, I just tried to murder you, but I asked for forgiveness, like bachcho ka farz banta hai. Like, what? You straight up tried to murder people. You do not get to ask for forgiveness. I also knew, like, this is the kind of movie, again, this is not a line that is said, and I'm moving towards kind of more the climax of this movie. Where is that line? Yeah. You knew this was going to be a movie where they were going to say the line, Ashik ke saath gulcharre ura rahi thi. You know, like, what are gulcharre? What is the translation in English of gulcharre? Can anybody help me with that? What is
They
it?
were fucking around.
No, but like, if you translate word for word gulcharre, is that like flower bud firework? Is that what it means?
I don't know. What's the literal
I have
translation?
no idea.
Itni Hindi aati, to then I'll be somebody else.
And the other line is also, the other word that I knew they were going to use and they drop it later on is rangraliyan. Like, if anybody ever accuses you of gulcharre or rangraliyan, you can be sure you didn't do it. You know, it's a false accusation. Everything that those words are used in Hindi cinema, it's always to accuse somebody that has not had any gulcharre or rangraliyan. But yeah, that was something that kind of stood out.
What I take from this movie is just brilliant dialogues in this movie, right? There's one called "Abe o ujdi hui riyasat ke lute hue sultan." That's what I want on a t-shirt. I want that on a t-shirt.
If I die, I want that to be on my gravestone.
Like, anybody reading this is a ujdi hui riyasat ke lute hue sultan.
That is amazing.
I also liked that final scene where he's where Johnny Lever is like pole koloing everybody. Is like he has this huge monologue about.
And he came prepared with the slides.
Yeah. Like lots of slideshows to prove a point in this movie. You know, it was like, oh, dari vi sehmi bachchi. He's like, and it feels weird to call Juhi Chawla dari vi sehmi bachchi because Juhi Chawla doesn't seem like the type that can be a bachchi or dari vi sehmi. Like, she's like hardcore, man. It was just, it's funny to see Johnny Lever take that dramatic. Haroon, man, what else do you love about this movie? So we can kind of
I think I've expressed my love for Ishq so much now that I'm going to have to watch it for like the 200th time at some point later today again. Because, you know, honestly, everything that you guys dislike about the film, I still like about it.
It makes you watch the movie even more.
And I totally get Sujoy's thing about Andaz Apna Apna and its kind of cult status. Because, to be honest, Andaz Apna Apna is not a very intelligent film either. But somehow this film did connect with me in the same way that does for millions of people. And you know what? One day Ishq will get the cult status that it deserves. I'm campaigning for it from this day forward.
Also, I just want to let like whoever hasn't watched this movie and is like thinking about watching it based off this podcast, I just want you to know it's about 3 hours long.
Yeah.
But you will enjoy it. You will enjoy it. You will laugh. You might cry at one point as well.
Oh, so me and Asim, we kind of debated if there is an edited version on YouTube, which is like less than 2 hours long.
Yeah.
So we kind of debated, should we? But we thought it was against our ethics for this podcast.
We're very
We have
ethical.
to.
We're the body shop of podcasts, basically. But I have never never checked the time of how much movie is remaining and written it down in my notes while watching a movie. I was like, it's still 2 hours. It's still 1 hour 40.
Are you serious? You honestly, you weren't engrossed in the narrative at all?
No, I wasn't. What?
Like, how were you not taken in? How were you not taken in by, you know, poor Kajol, who's been born in poverty, whose best friend's father hates her, wants her dead? Like, how were you not drawn in by this? Or like poor Aamir Khan, he just wants to be a good friend to Ajay Devgan, and Ajay Devgan's dad like can't stand him. He's not allowed into their house. Like, surely you were immersed in that world.
You know what I did find refreshing to, again, build on the positive? And I want to ask this maybe also, like, they were very defiant in their love, you know, like, especially when they're coming out of the airport, they're just like rubbing it in their dad. They're dating these, you know, poor people. I guess that was refreshing for the time, right? Well, otherwise they're like, oh, we have to hide it. We have to not tell our parents. And here they were like, deal with it, dude. So maybe that was I thought that was kind of different, like the tone
And
they
also,
stuck with.
what other Bollywood film like ends at like on a docking station for like a massive like
who leaves on a boat? Like,
ferry,
who the hell
cruise
leaves?
ship?
Where does
Like,
a boat
what was
go?
it?
Who takes a boat? Like, what do boats do? Like, I didn't. Yeah.
I think they were being deported to Lagos. That's what the plan was, right?
Was it Lagos? I don't know. Like, I was like, where is this boat going? And like, they didn't.
I did enjoy the fact that it came like completely out of left field. It was like, of all the places, when usually it's like, हम ये शहर छोड़ के चले जाएंगे, and then they'll get on a train.
Yeah.
And cut
But
to-
this one was a ship.
I know, like a giant ship where like
It's the biggest ship I've ever seen. Like, it's such a massive ship.
it's like they're evacuating the city with like half the population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And also,
it
I
did
just
seem
wanna
like the
say-
boat from Captain Phillips or something like that, you know?
Like, just based on pure Bollywood love, I don't know any other film that has been made after Ishq that has actually starred four genuine equal superstars. Like, a completely fair balance of star power in one film. Because, like, of course, you have had multi-stars like Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, but it's fair to say that Hrithik and Kareena were much smaller stars than Kajol and Shah Rukh were at that time. And even in Kalank, like Sonakshi and Aditya just are not as big as Alia and Varun. But Ishq was the last film where you saw like four bona fide superstars sharing screen space, and I think that's enough reason to love it.
It is weird that format almost doesn't exist anymore, and there's some actors that will collaborate with other actors and some that won't at all. And
But
I
that's
think
why they shelved the Ram Lakhan remake for exactly the same reason. They couldn't get two actors to work together who are of kind of equal billing.
yeah, it's sad. Also, I think Rohit Shetty would make a shitty movie. I think that's another reason probably why. But no, it is kind of sad because Ajay, Akshay, these guys, Saif, they used to do a lot of these kind of, work together, make a movie better than they would on their own. I mean, Aamir has worked with Salman has worked with Shah Rukh.
Like in that Akshay interview as well, he was talking about how he really liked collaborating with Saif Ali Khan a lot. In the beginning of his career.
Yeah.
Main Khiladi Tu Anari
And they all lifted each other up now. Like even Sunil Shetty, like imagine Sunil Shetty is a non-entry now, but like he worked with all of these guys and they all he had decent roles in those movies.
Yeah, all his solo movies were pretty much irrelevant. And then he does a movie with Akshay and the movie really works.
Yeah. So can you do a Sunil Shetty impression?
Hey, Virapal.
I knew you had one in your pocket.
Madhuri ko chhod de.
Okay, let's do the rest of the episode in this accent, Sujoy.
No way.
Because I did love your Akshay too the other time. Like,
मैं तेरी पूजा करूँगा. Oh, no.
oh, good.
Babu Bhaiya? No. Let's not go there.
Keep going.
That's it for me.
That's it. Okay, I think that's it for the episode, actually. Haroon, anything else you wanted to add on Ishq?
I just want to say to everybody listening right now, do not take Asim, Amrita or Sujoy's word for it. Make your own mind up about Ishq. Go watch it. Those 4 million hits on YouTube for one of the copies are not lying. That's how many people love the film. You might love it too, you listeners listening right now.
I actually agree with Haroon. I think everybody should watch it because I don't feel we should bear the burden of this movie alone. I think we should share it.
I think the print on YouTube already has the intermission point marked. So you should watch the movie and end it at the intermission and just stop.
Actually, I don't disagree with you, Sujoy, because like the bulk of the fun is definitely in the first half. But if you want the emotions and you want to cry a little in the second half, watch that too.
Amrita?
I mean,
अब मैं क्या कहूँ?
I mean, it's 3 hours of your life. If you feel like you absolutely need to watch it, go right ahead. Who am I?
If you feel like you are in Uji Hui Riyasat ke lute hue sultan, then
yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been a terrible week in terms of the world and the news. So it was the perfect choice for me to top it off with a movie like Ishq.
Yeah.
I almost feel I deserved it in a way. Like, I don't know. Like, I was generally like, I wanted to rewatch it because I thought I've not seen it since it came out. And it is like, I joke about this with Haroon, but I think there are people that genuinely love this movie, and kind of see it as like a very good comedy. And comedies are hard to discuss, I feel, either you find it funny, either you don't find it funny. So I was kind of interested in rewatching it, but it is very, very long, and the melodramatic portions just keep going on. And there's a scene where, so there's this whole moment where Juhi and Ajay think that Kajol and Aamir are pregnant because of Rangraliya. And they go in with rich people's clothes to mock them. And I was like, man, like, this is like, at that moment I was done and I still had 30 minutes to go. So it's a very, very long movie. But I do like some of the songs. So there's that. But yeah, I think people can decide. And at least the people that voted for this movie should rewatch it, at least, like...
It is on you guys.
Yeah, it is. So, but next episode, which is going to be 2007, you can choose between Om Shanti Om, Chak De India, Savarya, Partner, Salam-e-Ishq, and Tare Zameen Pe. Haroon, which one would you want to rewatch out of those?
I think, I'd rewatch Chak De India. I loved Chak De India actually when I first watched it. And what I remember most is the final hockey match in Chak De India is between India and Pakistan. And it was the first time I saw Pakistanis cheering for India to win during the film. Yeah. Like, honestly, all the audience that I was watching the film with were cheering on for India by the end of the movie because it's just such a compelling watch. So I'd love to revisit that. I think Om Shanti Om is a little bit overrated, but that's just my opinion.
What?
Guy, Haroon keeps dropping bombs on us. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not up to us. It's up to the Russian bots that keep rigging our polls. So whatever Putin decides, we'll be talking about next episode. Haroon, man, where can people find? And dude, it was so cool for you to come on.
Thank you so much for having me on to discuss my favorite movie ever. You can find me on all social media platforms at Haroon Rashid.
Awesome. Sujoy, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at @93k.
Dude, I think we can probably get you one of those Instagram celebrity filters and you just do Sunil Shetty and Akshay Kumar voices.
No.
I think you could be the new Tanmay Bhatt, man.
No, dude.
Amrita, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at AmritaIQ.
Great. And I'm at Asim Bernie. You can drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com. We have the interviews with Rima Kakti and Alankrita Srivastav on the You Podcast Bollywood edition site. So subscribe to that feed if you want to listen to it. It's really pretty cool chats. And then also we dropped a bonus episode of Made in Heaven, which is spoiler free. So check those out and let us know. Thank you for listening.
Khandaan podcast for the acting. Girl, you're much